So, Michael, I'm so happy that you're here. It's so great to see you. And I'd like to invite you to share with us some of the contemporary efforts that people are making to get us back to nature, and from your perspective, some of the values and needs and opportunities of these very powerful times.
Thanks, Cedar. First of all, I want to thank you for that wonderful meditation. I always love the way you lead journeys with people, because I know you've been there, and it was almost like we have this mycelium network between the hearts of all the people on this network. So thank you for a lovely process there. And as we were starting, I was kind of amused thinking about the fact that we're sitting here looking at this on a video screen, and reminded of the great theologian and environmentalist Thomas Berry, who asked the question, how is it we can destroy our own habitat? How is it we can, have profits be more important than life itself? How is it that we can pollute our waters? How is it that we continue to overpopulate beyond the carrying capacity of the earth itself? And his answer to that was that we're in a technological trance, that science and technology, we've narrowed ourselves so much to the Cartesian Newtonian model of it's not real if you can't measure it. And that model has created great separation, as you were saying, the sense of being separate from each other and separate from the earth and separate from life itself. So there's a term now that's actually being accepted in psychology called nature deficit disorder. And I think it's a wonderful term that I forgot who the person was. Oh, Richard Love's talked about this in his book. And we've created this separation from each other, from life, from the elements, from nature. In this country alone, 1 in 4 people don't have anybody they can even call in case of an emergency. That's a startling statistic of separation. And we've got ourselves in this egoic trap that's a sense of survival of the identity rather than the survival of the whole that we're a part and that we're connected with. And in ancient times, disease or illness, which nature deficit disorder is an illness, was considered a form of soul loss. And current psychology has the similar word for that. They call it disassociation. But whatever you call it, there's something that happens as we come into society, as we're born, that we have traumas that happen. Unfortunately, hardly anyone is really present. So the longing that we have to be held, to be loved, to be connected, is we try to get that from people who aren't able to give it to us. And in that, we form ways of being in the world that are focused on our survival and our relationships. So there's this illness of nature deficit disorder and this need to move into a new story of humanity. And many people, Joanna Macy, David Corton, Barbara Marx Hubbard, many people have been talking, Brian Swim, many of the people I have on conversations on my show, talk about this new emerging story. What's a story that we can live into, a new dream, so to speak, in the particularly South America? When I was working with the Pachamama Alliance, we went down to help on rainforest issues. And the elders said, that's great, you're coming to help us. It's really nice, but it isn't going to do anything. It isn't going to help until you change the dream of the North. And of course, that's the dream of our capitalist society, our connection to more is better, the way that we live our lives in this consumption cycle that we're in. So we want to collectively begin to recognize that the new story is actually a very old story. It's a story of being connected with each other, with the elements, which we can talk about later. In Buddhism, we call it interdependent co-arising, that we're actually creators in the evolution of life in partnership with the earth, with the air, with the fire and water, with the basic elements, and with the Creator, the spirit that lives in all things. So one of the basic principles of change in the outer world is, in order to really bring about any change in our environment and our relationship to the earth, we have to first heal the inner relationship with ourselves. So that's the issue of spirituality, and as I see it, probably the only thing which will keep us from totally destroying ourselves is a spiritual awakening to our interconnectedness with all life.